Am I the a-hole for not hosting a baby shower for my estranged daughter-in-law? I think a bit of background may be required for this one. I, 60F, have 2 sons and a daughter. The people in question here are Dave, 35, and his wife Liz, 29. Basically, I have a relationship with Dave, but none at all with Liz. Dave was married before, and has 2 children, 11M and 9F, with his ex-wife, Cassie. Cassie unexpectedly died in January 2020, about 2 weeks before Dave and Liz's wedding. Liz and I had a falling out over the children attending the wedding. They said they did not want to attend, and Liz demanded they be in the wedding despite the fact they had just lost their mother, and could have stayed with Cassie's parents that day. Dave gave in to Liz's demand and the kids attended, and as Liz says, ruined the wedding, when they refused to walk down the aisle, and then cried at the reception. I defended my grandchildren's behavior, because they were grieving, and Liz was very angry that I did not try harder at the wedding to get them to behave. They were in my care for the day. After the wedding, Cassie's parents and my husband and I started taking our grandchildren more often, because they did not want to be at Dave and Liz's house. My son works long hours, so they would mostly have to be with Liz. Liz does not like that we pick up our grandkids when they call us, and maybe we are undermining her parenting, but she does often fail to cook dinner, take them to therapy, or after-school activities. She is now expecting a baby in November, and will be having a baby shower in a few weeks. I was not invited, but have not told any of my extended family about the issue with Liz or the fact that I was not attending, because I feel like my family is also Dave's family, and can form their own opinions. Recently, word got out that I would not be there, I'm not sure how, and family started to question. The reason got out there, and my family is now very angry with both Dave and Liz. They are refusing to attend the baby shower, and I guess the guest list went from over 60 to under 20. Liz and family have decided they are fine with this, because they do not have to pay for as many guests, but now Liz has called my daughter and demanded that we, daughter and I, host a shower for her, and she might stop by, if she is feeling up to it, but will come to pick up the gifts after the shower to show the family that we are all on good terms. Not actually true. I might be because we declined, and now that people know we are estranged, I am sort of happy that I don't have to pretend to like her anymore. I had a friend who's no longer with us. He had a super toxic relationship with his final GF, who separated him from his friends and family, ultimately leading to him taking his own life. He tried to explain to me how what we all saw wasn't how they really were, and that there was more to their relationship than the constant fighting we all saw. My response was pretty blunt: dude, I'm not the one fucking her, so I don't see any of it. I'm pretty sure my buddy was a sex addict, and had a weird relationship with sex, as a result of some childhood abuse he received. A buddy of mine was frankly afraid of sex and intimacy. It was something he never learned to enjoy until he met his current BF. All of his good friends warned him that the new BF had a reputation that preceded him, and it wasn't good. Of course we heard the same line: you guys don't see him the way I do. I told him I didn't see it. Any of the guys he dated never had a problem with our friendship, but this guy has a problem with all of his then existing friendships. I guess I'm glad he learned to enjoy it. I just wish it didn't come at the price of isolating and sacrificing every single friend he had beforehand. He turned from a down-to-earth guy into a circuit queen, and if I had met him now, I'd never have become friends, let alone acquaintances with him. My sister has 2 kids, and their stepmom did that to them for a week. The new chick hated the fact that her man was previously married with kids, and so she ignored their entire existence when it was his time to have them. She'd literally lock herself in her room until they left. Well, over the summer the kids' dad had them for an entire week per the custody agreement, but dad still had to work. Dad thought stepmom would take care of them, but no. My niece ended up calling my sister crying, and niece never cries, because they hadn't even a single meal in over 4 days. Turns out that they'd been living off of whatever snacks and junk food they could find, because the main part of dad's pantry and freezer foods were locked in the garage where they couldn't access, and stepmom refused to come out. Yeah, dad is a piece of work. Sister met him in high school, and they dated for about a year before she got pregnant. His mom basically accused my sister of non-consenting relations, and claimed that her perfect little choir boy wouldn't do something like that. While sister was pregnant, he cheated on her multiple times, and ended up getting another girl pregnant. Sister left for a while, but they got back together for the baby. One kid became two and he proposed by throwing the ring at my sister during an argument. She stayed with him until he did something I can't mention on here to me, and even then he claimed that I was jealous and he was trying to share. They divorced and he went no contact with the kids for about 7 years until sister needed child support. He got the kids every other weekend unless during the summer up until the incident mentioned above. Now he's lucky if he sees them, which he doesn't care and doesn't want. Nope. You were right on the mark. Narcissist is check definitely. Arrogant god yes. Status obsessed is a yup. I've only met the stepmom twice, and each time she's looked at me like I was a piece of gum stuck on her shoe. They deserve each other, but I feel horrible for their children. I can't have kids due to health issues, so my niece and nephews are my babies. I never have the heart to stick them on a tablet for 10+ hours a day, not interact with them at all, and only have them for pictures and to show that they can breed. This is also the same man that decided to try to send my niece to camp when she came out as bi. She's already said she plans to cut contact with him when she's no longer legally obligated to see him. Nephew is still on the fence. I'm supportive with whatever they choose. Yeah, you're tough for not wanting to bend to this woman's ludicrous demands. But I think you seriously need to start holding your son more accountable in this situation. Because it sounds like you think Liz is the source of all these issues. But make no mistake, she wouldn't be able to get away with all this stuff if Dave wasn't letting her. If you are fine with your son, then you need to have a serious talk with him. Especially if he has another kid coming into the world. He needs a wake-up call, and fast, before he ruins his kids' lives even more than he already has with his selfish behavior. His desire to get married doesn't override his duties as a father. His wanting another kid doesn't magically let him off the hook for taking care of and protecting his older children. I'd argue it isn't your responsibility to set him straight if he was some person just causing grievances in your life outside of your control. Because he is an adult. But this is your kid. You raised him. So if you still view yourself as being his mother and someone who should want to take care of him, you need to set him straight for his own good, and especially for the good of those kids. Maybe he won't listen. But you should still take the initiative to try instead of pretending it's all his fault. Because it isn't him making mistake that just screw up his life. He is ruining these innocent kids' lives in the process. And if you care about the kids, then you need to hold him just as accountable for his actions here too. Not just Liz. Because they are both the problem. I'm appalled by Dave's actions. His kids have just lost their mother, and he expects them to buck up, put on a happy face, and go to the wedding? What kind of father wouldn't recognize that his kids needed time to grieve? Dave shouldn't have given in to Liz. He shouldn't have married Liz at all once she started making ridiculous demands of bereaved children. Dave's kids are lucky to have you in their life to look out for them and advocate for them. It's sad that they need that, but their lives would be a lot worse without you. You and Liz have a poor relationship because you care deeply about those kids and are willing to stand up for them. I'd wear that like a badge of honor. But you fail to blame the person that is responsible for all of this, your son. He insisted the kids go to the wedding. If he did not, then they would not have been there. He is the one that did not let his children grieve their mother. He is the one not making sure his children get to appointments. He is the parent and responsible for the care and feeding of his children. His working long hours is irrelevant, and he is the one foisting that on someone who obviously has not agreed to do it. Liz, quit blaming Liz for your son's faults. Yes, she has her own issues, but the one massively failing his own children is your son. If the children's mother had not passed, your son, the failure of a parent, probably would not have any custody of his kids. If you were a preteen who was grieving and then getting a lot of positive reinforcement from your grandmother for talking shit about your stepmom, how much exaggeration would you put on to get more of that positive reinforcement from granny? It's just as likely that failing to cook them dinner doesn't make them what they want. When my 11-year-old daughter is in a mood, she runs straight to my husband when he gets home to complain that I hadn't fed her all day. When really, she wanted a Happy Meal instead of the lunch I made and then chose not to eat it. I also have a lot of side-eye for the dill, demanding a baby shower that she may or may not show up for. This sounds completely made up. I've got a diagnosed narcissist and 2 family members with BPD, and that kind of behavior would sound outlandish, even to them. OP is describing her dill with a cartoonish version of what she thinks a toxic dill would be. If only I had the audacity. No, see, I was the opposite. My JNMIL showed up at my house one day, telling me to get in the car. I was maybe 5 months pregnant, and my husband was at work. I called him, put him on the phone with her, She tried to barge into the house. I just put speaker up to the door, and she screamed that she was taking me to a baby shower that her mother's church was hosting for me. I refused. As one, I didn't trust her. 2, anything she has ever done comes with a huge catch that she doesn't tell you about. And 3, was still recovering from an emergency appendectomy. I had never been to Mima's church. I am not religious, and I definitely didn't know why so many people I didn't know were throwing me baby shower I knew nothing about. Turns out, it's a good thing I didn't go. She was trying to set me up because it was actually a baby shower for her nephew's wife. They don't even live in the state, and my mill was trying to get me to dress up and show up acting like the party was for me, so she could tell the whole family that I was the trash she had been saying I was. She was furious it didn't work. Now, I hate the idea of a baby shower as it only seems to be a tool for family